Good morning, everyone. It is September 15th, 2020. I'll call the Wright County Board of Commissioners meeting to order. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Welcome everyone that's here in attendance, and we have some good news from our sheriff's office here, and also those joining us remotely. So welcome everyone. The next order of business is the minutes from 9/1. Does anyone have any corrections or?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes from December 1st, 20.
All right.
Second.
Right. Motion made by Commissioner Delyden, seconded by Commissioner Potter. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Minutes are approved. The agenda, today's agenda, Minister Kelly, I believe we have a couple of,
Yes, Madam Chair, two additions I was asked in discussion with the IT department. The first is to refer to a personnel committee next week for a discussion on the SharePoint administrator reclassification to Office 365 architect, and the second ask is to refer to the technology committee next week. They have 7 items that they had provided, as well as discussing new project requests and project portfolio scoring. So I believe those items were forwarded to the board via email.
yes. So would we like to put those on the consent agenda under G?
Yes, it can simply be a consent item.
All right. We'll add that to the consent agenda.
Madam,
And
is there any else?
was there another item, Mr. Keller? That was it.
That's all I had.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as modified with the additions of item G with the IT referral committee and the IT personnel committee request.
All right. Motion made by Commissioner Batch, seconded by Commissioner Potter. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was you.
It's all right. Makes no
Commissioner
difference.
Delyden. All right. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
The agenda is approved. The consent agenda, would anyone like anything removed for further discussion?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda. Second that.
All right, motion made by Commissioner Delyden, seconded by Commissioner Burrell. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, the consent agenda is approved. Moving on to our timed items for today. We welcome Sheriff John Derringer, and he's got,
Madam Chair, members of the board, thank you for having us. As you guys know, this is a tradition that I started once I was elected. While it may not seem like that big of a deal, I think that it's a very big deal for our office and certainly a very big deal for the gentlemen that stand behind me. You know most of them, if not all of them, as we come forward. They've been here for a number of years and have done great work. And obviously, you guys approved a training coordinator, professional standards lieutenant. And so I'll just give you a quick breakdown. Lieutenant Ferguson, he was a CID lieutenant. He was moved into that training lieutenant position. Photography. And he was moved into that position, which opened up a CID spot. Lieutenant Kunkel moved from patrol over to CID, and Sergeant Cramber was a CID sergeant, moved over to the patrol lieutenant spot. So Sergeant Cramber was promoted to lieutenant. And then also I have now Sergeant Nick Lee and Sergeant Mike McGill. And the reason that I feel it's important to come over here is obviously the people that stand beside me have earned the trust and respect of not only their peer group, but their supervisors. They've done an outstanding job throughout their career. Most recently, Nick was one of our detectives for about the last 3.5 years, give or take. And truly came from the patrol division and seriously hit the ground running, just did fantastic work. Mike has been kind of one of our multiplayer or multifaceted players. He is capable of moving from patrol, most recently been an SRO for several years, and then in the summertime moves between CID and SIU and just fills a void wherever need be and continues to do a great job. Obviously, you guys all know Jason Him and I actually started within weeks of each other back in 1997, so we've kind of moved through our entire careers together. So it was, I think, a good day for Jason. So, and well-deserved. Even as the CID sergeant, as you guys know, that we moved to a 10-hour schedule in the patrol division. Jason's skill set and technology, tech savviness was a big help for us as we started moving through some of the technology and how we were going to make those adjustments. He's a numbers-driven guy, always has been. I think his first love in college was math, and so a big help. So I just wanted to extend a official congratulations to these gentlemen, introduce them to you as new supervisors, and obviously as we're growing and we all have a shelf life, we recognize that. This is the future leadership of our organization, so I think that it's important that you guys are aware of that and some of the good things that are happening at the sheriff's office.
Yeah.
So
Really appreciate that, and I mean, congratulations are definitely
Congratulations to all of
due.
you.
Yeah.
Very good.
thank you all for
right.
taking time out of your schedules
Yeah.
to be here today. I appreciate it.
Thank
So,
you for your
thank
service.
you, Commissioners.
Yeah.
In other words, what he just said was, now get back to work.
What have you done for me
Madam
lately?
Chair, I want to thank the sheriff for taking the time to actually doing this and introducing your promotions. I
Yes.
think this is a great practice. It really keeps us from a board perspective on the changes within your department and really getting to know everybody on a personal level.
Yes, definitely, yep. Thanks, everybody. All right, Mr. Bob Kevala, Auditor Treasurer.
Hey, good morning,
Welcome.
Board. The first item on the agenda is actually to adopt the resolution setting preliminary 2021 budget and levy. Commissioners, after the budget workshops that we have, we're recommending that you adopt a $153,827,373 operating budget with a levy, including the lids of $82,381,407.
I'll make a motion to accept the 2021 levy resolution.
All
I'll
right.
second that.
Motion made by Commissioner Delyden, seconded by Commissioner Vetch. Discussion.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Delyden.
just to remind people again that this is the maximum it can be. As we get closer to December, there's always a real possibility that this can come down even more as we work to try and plan things and figure out where we're currently at with budgets.
I mean, it was, you know, the departments came through and people really we really worked through this, I think, you know, as best we could to keep it as low as we possibly could, and the goal was to keep it right in that 5% mark, and we were able to do that with actually a slight decrease in our tax rate, which is wonderful because we're not taking, you know, to keep that as stable as we can and not have these real ups and downs, and just to have a slight decrease so people, hopefully, property values have seemed to continue to go up and the last few years, so hopefully this lower levy increase will not impact them too negatively for the county taxes.
And, you know, Madam Chair, I think one thing that I want to get people to understand is that I think people are going to look at that idea that total budget going from 162 million in 2020 to 153, and getting them to understand that a lot of that is because of Rhoden Bridge and the construction projects that we were getting some state and federal funding for the previous year, that we are not doing those projects this coming year, which made a big
Right.
shift into why our overall budget is less than the previous year.
Right,
So.
definitely.
Commissioner, to that point, a lot of the road and bridge projects are funded by state or federal contracts. So when the budget goes up for those areas, the levy doesn't really change that much.
Right, yep.
So the one that really matters is the 82 million, because that's what's raised locally here.
Yep.
And Commissioners, just procedurally, once you adopt this, we'll prepare taxation statements that'll be sent out. So when the citizens receive them, you know, ours is going to be one component of that tax bill.
Great. Any other comments? If not, roll call vote, starting with Commissioner Burrow.
Aye.
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 All right, resolution passes 5-0.
So
you
Commissioners,
and
the
your
second
staff.
item on the agenda is something new. We don't normally issue bonds that way, but the certificate of occupancy. So these are our certificates of participation. We've drawn down the bond proceeds. So the trustee is asked that we sign this certificate of occupancy. We've turned the key, we've moved in. So it's just a procedural thing that they can say that we built the building that we issued the bonds for. So I need the chair and
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to authorize signatures on the certificate of occupancy.
Second.
All right, motion made by Commissioner Vetch. I'm sorry, who was second? Potter. Commissioner Potter, seconded. All right. Any discussion on this?
Looks like a roll call too.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
this is for the Justice Center?
No.
no, this is for the training center.
Training,
Tactical.
okay.
Tactical.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I guess, I don't know if it's on here that it says that.
I think it's a resolution, I believe. In the back, no?
Yeah, you'll see that the Exhibit D talks about our 2019 B bonds which were the certificates of participation for the construction of the training center.
Yep.
Yeah, it just says authorized signatures. It does not, we don't have a resolution in here.
At the end, it looks like it's a resolution.
The second page of, at least attached to my thing, has the Exhibit D and then the back.
All right. Mr. Kelly, do you see it as a
Oh,
resolution?
no, that says resolution setting the preliminary budget. It's just
Right.
kind of out of order.
Yep, it's out of order. Yep,
That's out of
you're good.
order.
Yep.
All right.
You're right.
Any more discussion on this? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. That certificate passes.
Yeah, they.
I did
they
the same thing,
jumped
Charlie.
around.
They did jumped around. They weren't.
Yeah, there. All right. Good morning, Matt Detchen, our drainage inspector.
Mayor, members of the board. So I have 3 items today just for scheduling public hearings. It's 3 separate public hearings on County Ditch number 10. If you remember a while back, we had an informational meeting for the repair report. Those notices were sent out, so all landowners have an opportunity to view that. They'll be able to come in tonight too and also view it here in the government center on a limited basis in case they don't have internet access. All that. I've only received 2 comments on that so far. I will print those out and start putting them in your board packets each week so you can read the comments from the landowners on that. So with that, the first item number 1, is to schedule a ditch committee of the whole public hearing for the repair report on County Ditch number 10. Like I said, we had the informational meeting. This would be the actual public hearing where you would vote to move forward with it, recommend changes, like that. The meeting date we suggested, working with Mark, is October 20th, anytime after 1 p.m. This will probably take an hour and a half, possibly go to 2 hours, depending on how much public input we have.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Delyden.
before we continue with this, are you also looking at doing the other ones on the same day?
I'm actually looking at doing them the day before, to have that settled. We were talking about potentially having them all at the same time. Don't really know how long those other public hearings will last. Sometimes they only take 10, 15 minutes. Other times they've taken closer to an hour when we get a lot of public input. So it was harder to schedule the 3 separate times because we might have had a big gap in between each public hearing. So those 2 items, the next items I'm going to have are actually, the suggested date is October 19th, so the day before, unless you want to try to do them all on the same day.
Board, what are your wishes here? Go ahead and set the public hearing for ditch 10 on October 20th. And what would be a good time? I don't know if,
He's suggesting 1 o'clock.
You
Did you
said
say
anytime
after
after
the 20th or the 20th's okay?
The 20th works for Mark, And then,
Okay.
so just times, I know he's busy in the morning, so we can start at any time after 1, so if you
I
wanted
would
to
say
do
we
it
should
later.
start at 1, because if you're looking at possibly 2 hours, it could get really,
1 o'clock?
Madam Chair,
Public hearing.
I'll make a motion to set a committee to hold ditch 10 public hearing for October 20th at 1 o'clock.
for
I'll second.
repair report.
Repair report, correct.
I'll second that.
All right, motion made by Commissioner Potter, seconded by Commissioner Burrell. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Thank you. Second one is the committee of the whole.
Yep, so the first item in this is, you'll see there's 2 items. It's to schedule a ditch committee of the whole public hearing on the petition for removal of property from County Ditch 10 from Peaceful Metals LLC. They petitioned for this a while back. So essentially, they're petitioning to be removed from the benefited rolls moving forward on the ditch. Their petition states that they don't feel that they benefit from the ditch. So with that, we have to have a public hearing. The suggested date for that one is October 19th. I think we can start that one at 2 o'clock, if that time works for you. And then potentially having the second one start at 2:30 and potentially having to push it back a little bit if that first,
2 o'clock on,
October 19th.
So the first one's at 2?
Second one's at 2:30. Item number 2.
What we're hoping, and we have to have Mark there for that too, so, and those times work for him.
I'll make the motion. Can we do it for both of them at the same time?
Okay,
Okay, so 2 and 2:30?
I'll make the motion to have the one for, regarding the Peaceful Meadows at 2 o'clock, and the next one for, what is it for?
2:30.
and
Yeah.
for the property not to assess under the Minnesota
Not
statute.
assessed benefits under
103.
Minnesota statute at 2:30, yeah.
all right, motion made by
That's
Commissioner.
a,
I'll
that's
second
a,
it. I'll second it.
Seconded by Commissioner Vetch. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. All right, motion passes. Thanks, Matt. We'll see you soon. All right, moving on to our items for consideration. We had, how many budget committee meetings? 2, 4, 6, and also a committee of the whole. So we have seven separate meetings that I've asked Administrator Kelly just to give a high-level summary of them. And anyone that's interested in more specifics is, please go on our website and look under the agenda, and you can find all of our committee minutes there. Administrator Kelly.
All right, with that, Board, as you know, this was the process that resulted in the resolution resetting our levy and budget that was just adopted earlier in the meeting. So we had, I believe it was 7 meeting dates this year. I'll quickly go over them and talk through it. So our first meeting was on the 17th of August. Of course, board members there, and we had a good number of staff along with our budget team there. So the first was kind of a kickoff. We spoke to where we started at with the budget and a few new things that were included this year, including creating a new ag and drainage department, sign department, new line in Health and Human Services Administration, and some changes in object codes. We had started out coming in kind of the warts and all as we presented everything at 9.2% and worked reductions from there. Goal this year was to reduce our tax rate, preferably under 44, which we were able to meet. So talked about a few different things we would needed to do to make that goal. The next thing discussed was position requests. We had quite a few that were requested this year, as well as a few reclassified positions. We did take some time and talk about positions that had remained vacant from the previous year that were still there, and how to discuss those when each department came in and presented their individual budgets. So moved on to the capital improvement plan as an overview. And kind of the process of how we worked through that. We compiled all the projects and got the total of what was needed to fund that. Fortunately, we've had some funds that were able to be reassigned, so we were able to reduce the levy need for the CIP, almost $1.5 million less than it was in 2020. So we also talked a little bit about one of the other funding sources, the recorder. Land Records Technology has some funds that we statutorily are dedicated, and how those funds are used for projects with the assessor, the auditor, and the aerial photography with the surveyor. Lastly, talked briefly about the IT projects that were in the budget and reviewed those with IT Director Fomby. So next, move on to appropriation requests for Wright County Economic Development Partnership, Initiative Foundation, Historical Society, Friends of the Maple Lake Library, and the Great River Regional Library. Largely, we kept those the same as previous years. We did talk a little bit with the Historical Society and upgrade they were making to their door, which would be taken care of through building care. We had some discussion initially on the Friends of the Maple Lake Library request. Approved that. You'll see the note here, which will be mentioned in the next sediments as well, to split that over 2 years to be more consistent. Great River Regional Library, that is determined by a formula that is set by the Great River Regional Board. So that was actually a slight reduction this year for Wright County. And Fair Board we kept at $76,000, and next year again is the big anniversary of the fair. Unfortunately, they weren't able to have it this year. So Fund 100 just provided a quick overview of that, reducing the line in county transit and increasing the investment income recognized we had for Budget 100. So that was the first day, August 17th, kind of the budget kickoff. I can move into the 19th. We met with a number of departments that day. First being the county attorney's office. Had a slight increase in his budget and expenses, and a slight reduction in revenues being anticipated for 2021, which resulted in a budget increase of 4.3%, but no staff request. So we moved on with approving the budget as presented. Court services, similarly, seeing changes in both revenues and expenditures. Talked a little bit also about the Right Choice program and how that interacts with the 7 schools that participate and those that do not. So we adopted that budget as was proposed. Vet services, a similar situation. He only increased by $1,000 this year for 2021. That was adopted. Planning and zoning budget came in with an increase proposed or recognized of revenues increasing due to recent developments that have taken place. So expenses were remaining flat. We did have a discussion about staffing at the compost facility and working through that between planning and zoning and the human resource office of how to do it in the future. Next discussion was with the county board, and we had some discussion about the NACO, National Association of Counties dues that the county pays. Was decided to continue that. And then the main increase related to the county board was the replacement schedule for the county computers for commissioners. Assessor Rasmussen provided an overview. They'll have another 3,500 parcels that they will be responsible for reviewing in 2021, which now about 4,400 parcels are assigned to each appraiser. So we talked about his request for an additional principal appraiser to be hired in the latter part of 2020 to assist specifically with properties around lakeshore areas. And working on the consistency there, and he noted there was an Office Tech 1 position that would be essentially traded to help offset that cost of that position. So moving forward with the principal appraiser position, and he had an assessor position, which was outlined later as well. Surveyor, quick overview there. Steve Job came in with Eric Stennis, Alex Helverson, to talk through the budget. Pretty much flat. The big discussion was around the aerial photography, which is budgeted through the Recorder's Compliance Funds, and wanting to do that every 3 years. It's the time to do it. With that included and some of the changes they proposed was a decrease of the budget of $24,385. Next, we move to discussing with the Rhoden Bridge or the Highway Department, presented by Engineer Hawkins and Assistant Houseman. We reviewed the projects that took place in 2020, and he talked a little bit about the grants that have been awarded for 2024 projects of over $2.2 million. So for the schedule for 2021 is 4 miles of reconstruction, 27 miles of pavement preservation, 32 miles of seal coating, and replacement of 3 culverts. So a few other things talked there, strategic initiatives for 2021 relating to staff. We had some discussion preliminarily there and wanted to take time to come back and review that at a future meeting. We did talk a little bit about updating the 5-year construction plan and that the loss program, looking at that as well, knowing that it is to expire as it stands now on December 31st of 22. Did note again that they had created a new division with the known as the sign department, which will help them with some operational efficiencies. So that concludes the minutes from the 19th. Moving to August 21st, first meeting of the day was with the administration department. Overall, the budget was down slightly. However, with the increase in staff, it resulted in the largest part of the increase. So we had proposed 2 positions, a finance director and a projects administrator. We talked about the vacant administrative specialist position that was held open in 2022. Moving to building care, of course, with new buildings coming online, that will impact operations with building care with the additional square footage. We also made some changes on the rent calculation and how that's being allocated, which showed up in the 111 budget, but does not have an impact on the levy. A request from building care for some additional equipment for the new area. We talked briefly about that, and those were the largest items. Adopted the budget as it was presented. For Recorder's Office, Tanya West presented her overview, projecting an increase in revenue of $22,000 due to development and home sale increases, with a slight increase of just under $5,000 for expenditures. With no new staffing, the budget was adopted. IT, we had quite a bit of discussion around the positions. Director Fomby noted large changes related to the ERP license, which is now moving from the capital improvement plan into the IT operating budget. We moved then to discuss further about the position requests, as he had a number. He's looking at making some changes in the way working forward and targeting staff and leveraging contractors for specialized things in the future. As this transition moves forward, he was hoping for some flexibility. So rather than identifying specific positions for the 21 budget, the consensus was to put funds in budget 100 to hold for those positions to be hired in the future. And also noted the SharePoint administrator reclassification to the Office 365 architect, which we just referred to committee. So moving on, Parks and Recreation. He identified kind of his strategic objectives for 21 and tied that to the value streams that were discussed as part of our strategic planning. Levy increase for 2021 includes 2 staff requests being the largest driver, and the impact being the coming online of Bertram Chain of Lakes. But this is also realizing revenues that will come with it once the campground is open. So the 2 positions discussed were a guest services manager and a parks and natural resource tech. The board looked at the revenues and increased it to $285,000 to recognize additional revenues from the campground. We also talked about the Ag and Drainage Division, which is now a part of the Parks Department. We also have moved the Soil and Water Appropriation out of Fund 100 underneath this Ag and Drainage Department as well. So talked briefly about the 2 contracting positions, the Ag and Drainage Inspector that we'd had for years and had planned to discontinue them for the 21 budget. We may bring them on as an as-needed basis through professional services. So That was a quick summary of Parks and Rec, Auditor, Treasurer, and Elections, slight reduction in revenues as well as expenditures, so the budget impact of negative 3594. Talked about taxation process specialist and a reclass request for adding one, and then 4 other positions that would also potentially be reclassed with that. So some additional funds were added to the budget in order to plan for that reclassification, which we'll work with HR to do. As we have in past years, we kept the election budget at the same operating levy as in 2020 in order to allow for purchase of new election equipment. So, moving on to the Sheriff's Office, Sheriff Derringer provided an overview of the department and the structure. We talked about the Baker-Tilly study that was presented earlier in the year and the 5-year plan that he had resulting from that. Also talked about the 10-hour shift schedule that's been implemented and the savings that has shown in overtime. Talked about the wellness initiative and mentorship program that they are looking to roll out. And just talked generally the environment that law enforcement faces right now. So relative to the budget, they're projecting a revenues increase in 2021 of about $600,000. The concern remains if there would be a mandate to come forward on body cams, that may impact the budget in the future. So we talked briefly about staffing requests regarding a training lieutenant and CID sergeant that were approved in 2020. He was also coming forward with 5 additional positions, which we discussed somewhat that day, but laid that over to the August 26th meeting for position review discussion. So,
I have a question with that.
Yes, sir.
Should we do it now or just wait till the very end, or?
Probably take it now.
let's take it now.
Lee,
Yes, sir.
The sheriff's office on the building lease, you know, the expenses that it was kind of money in, money out for the building. They put it down as a savings. How did that get worked out? I mean, because none of the other departments did it that I know of.
You're talking about the rent?
As a reduction
The
in
rent.
spending, right. We had talked about it, and I
There
didn't.
was 2 different pieces to it. There was
Correct.
the correctional side, and then there was the law enforcement side. And I believe, which one, was it the correctional side that we were not charging rent on?
Well, I thought,
I believe it's the correction side that we charge
Correction
on.
Charge,
sites,
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
They do
The-
charge, so that should have stayed there. But on the other part of the building, all the other departments just kind of pulled it out without putting it down as a reduction in their budget. And the sheriff's office put it down as a reduction in budget. And I'm wondering if you ever got that worked out.
I think Heather
Well-
sent us an email regarding that,
Yeah,
or Sue did.
but I wanted to clarify it for the minutes here, though. It
Yeah,
did-
but I think it did get addressed.
That's what I wanted to have Lee clarify it.
Because overall, it's a budget
It's-
neutral, because whatever you
Right.
don't get in rent, you didn't get
No,
in
no,
revenue,
But
so.
it made their percentage look way better, though, because they used it as a reduction in their spending.
In their individual line, because the revenue comes in Department 100, so.
Or
Right, and
111,
it's
yeah.
not coming in, so
Yeah.
how did it get resolved then? What was the email?
Again, it comes out at the bottom, it's a wash. So it's just
Right.
how it was presented at the budget time.
But it lowered their percentage.
It would on their individual sheet, yes.
Yes.
I think she changed it.
I know there was a correction made.
For most of the departments, we backed out rent from the previous budget, therefore it wasn't in this budget. Commissioner Burrell, you're looking at the sheriff's office where we didn't communicate with them in time, so the rent is still there, so it looked like they had reduced.
It looked like they reduced spending, right?
But that reduction was also a reduction in revenue.
Right.
It was a budget neutral item.
But they didn't, but no, but the revenue didn't get reduced in their budget. It's all it did was showed a reduction in spending. In 100, you know, yeah, I got it for the whole county, it's an offset, it didn't matter. But it made it look like they were saving money, and in reality, it wasn't saving money.
It looks like they cut their budget, yeah.
Yes.
I get from your perspective, yes, that it made it look like they.
So
Yeah.
did we get the number, the real percentage increase number after that was pulled out then? That's what I'm wondering.
Well, we did. How do I want to explain it, I guess? I mean, the only way we could even it out is back it out of their budget as well as back out of the revenue side too.
But I guess what he's saying, yeah, we gotta back it out of the revenue side, but the revenue side
But you
comes from
shouldn't.
Department 100.
Exactly.
But we wanna know because we wanna know what the sheriff department, we don't wanna have it perceived that they went from 1 million to 800,000, when really they didn't, because the rent,
It shouldn't have been,
should, you know,
none of the
as a
other departments
hypothetical
played
number,
it in.
you know.
Sure.
Commissioners, do you want to know what that number is, or?
I would,
Because it's reflected in the levy you just adopted.
Yeah.
Or
But-
just for clarification.
but there was on that particular area, because the sheriff's department has different areas where they had percent increase or decrease, and it was just like almost insignificant change, but if you pulled that out as an expense, it would be a considerable increase.
And just a little clarification here, I mean, historically, departments paid the rent, but then it was basically, I mean, forgiven, so, right, so money in, money out, no actual dollars were exchanged, correct?
No, and
That's correct.
And I got that. On the county level,
Right.
it's all gonna be a wash, but all the other departments this year, except for human services and the jail, different ones that are still keeping track of the building expense for reimbursement from the state or federal programs.
Right,
Still do that, but at one time, we had to do it, if we're gonna get those reimbursements, every department had to do it. Now that's not the case, so they pulled them out this year, but the sheriff's department pulled it out as a savings, like they reduced their, and which, I mean, none of the other departments did it. I just said so it made them look better on paper than they really did.
and we still have, what are the departments that actually are still paying rent? So the sheriff and human services?
Human services, yeah.
For,
Because really, to
Court
make it
services.
compare apples to apples, you would have had to taken it out of 2020s and 2021, so you're comparing apples to apples instead of you're comparing oranges to apples, because,
Yeah.
it's inflated in 2020 because something's in there that shouldn't have been in there in that first place, so.
right,
All right.
So for most of the time, we did do that.
but thanks for your question, Charlie.
It's good to have it noted for the
Yeah.
record. I mean,
It-
I just don't want somebody to
It,
be able
it
to come
should
back.
be, I mean, because that percentage would have changed a lot. I mean, it made it look like there was virtually no increase, and when you pull out that huge deduction, which it really isn't a deduction, it was an increase. Pretty substantial.
And I,
Ryan and Heather are trying to calculate that, so we'll see if they have
Okay.
answers for you.
Okay.
Thank you.
I could have swore we got an email from either Sue, Regine, or Heather.
It never did, but
I
it
can't
never
find
did
it.
give us the real increase in that department that I remember.
Yeah,
They just explained what happened, and we kind of knew already what happened.
yeah, no, I don't know.
But how did it get fixed is, I guess, what I'd like to know.
it?
All right,
Okay, sorry.
no, that's good.
All right, proceeding with the minutes summary again. Next set of minutes from the 24th of August. We met again with Rhoden Bridge to follow up on our meeting on the 19th, talking about the staffing requests, with the 2 new staff requests along with reclassifying existing positions. So this would be for sign tech moving to a lead tech, engineering technicians being reclassified as a construction engineer and a design engineer. They felt that these would allow them more flexibility to operate more efficiently, so I approved moving forward with that. Discussion then with Health and Human Services. Director Jamie Goodrum Schwartz provided an overview of their goals and objectives and trends. As noted again, we did create an administration department under Health and Human Services to allow them to better detail expenditures that are split out amongst those 3 different departments for the reimbursements. Public Health Director Grossesh talked about the staff request with the public health nurse, which was driven by a grant and already had been approved. Then we had updates in the different areas of how the rent expense was calculated for Health and Human Services. Updates from Joe Pooler, Social Services Manager, and Michelle Miller about Adult Services and Child Services and their departments. and Kim Johnson, the Financial Services Manager, with overview of her area, which had little change in the budget as well this year. Lastly, talked about the on-base administrator request that they had, and talked how that would interact with the IT department. So ultimately, no changes that were made to the proposed budget for 2021. August 25th, we met with the Soil and Water Conservation District. Luke Johnson, the district manager, gave an overview of the request and talked again about how they're working with the Ag and Drainage Division within Parks. Their appropriation for 2021 is $633,500. They've been operating in a deficit is still. So after walking through the revenue and expenditures, the budget was approved as presented. We also had a presentation then from representatives of the Lake John Improvement District. They were working on a budget and a special assessment for Lake John. So their 2021 budget is $30,000 and will be assessed against 149 properties. So talked a little bit about some of the activities that they are doing regarding invasive species treatment and planning for the future. So lastly then, we had a bit of a recap and some discussions of where to make some modifications to the overall budget. Those were in professional services of IT. We cut $250,000 reduction in the health insurance due to the rate cap of $250,000 reduction in the work comp insurance line. Reduction in the unallocated personnel, and we had planned at that point to buy down with some reserve funds. So reiterated again, we'd like to see a flat tax rate or a reduction, and directed the auditor treasurer staff to come back with some scenarios based on 3 different levy increases. So moving on to August 26th is really a review of the positions, which I think I've mentioned throughout the budget here. In some cases, we've traded for vacant positions for some, so they're listed there. I don't know that I need to go through all of them, but we did talk through the new position requests as well as the reclass. Following up with that, the direction was to staff to come back on September 1st, the committee of the whole, with an overview of the budget and where we're at, and some more calculations. So that concludes the Budget Committee of the Whole sessions that we had.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the budget committees of the whole for August 17th, August 19th, August 21st, August 24th, August 25th, and August 26th.
All right. Motion is made by Commissioner Vetch, seconded by Commissioner Delyden, to approve the committee minutes of the 6th budget meeting. Is there any more discussion on this?
It's just, Madam Chair, I'm just wondering if there shouldn't be a little clarity on the figures, I don't know, for the sheriff's office.
I'm sure Ryan came down and gave us the budget template, so
Okay.
we can answer that question.
All right. Brian, do you want to come over here and when you're set up there?
Oh, he can come here, I guess.
Pardon?
Well, we're waiting for that. We haven't voted on it.
Well, you know what, and Madam Chair, it really went, yeah, might as well vote. It's not gonna change the minutes, it's just gonna change
Right.
numbers that are in our heads, you know, kind of
Yeah, I
thing.
mean, it's not gonna actually change the budget.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's not gonna change
So
it.
we can go ahead and
All
vote.
right. We'll go ahead and vote if there's no more discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve the Committee of the Whole minutes for September 1st.
Second.
Right. Motion made by Commissioner and the minutes and the recommendation. We're going to go,
September 1st.
yeah. Minutes and the recommendations. Correct. Yep. Motion made by Commissioner Delyden,
Seconded here.
seconded by Commissioner Potter. Is there any discussion?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Minutes and the recommendations are approved. All right.
Oh, it's already that time to set that December board meeting already.
Yeah. So All right, so our special board meeting on, looking at December 1st.
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes, Madam Chair, as part of the annual budget process by statute, we are required to have a meeting held no sooner than 6 PM. So we've proposed this year to do this on December 1st at 6 PM to discuss the budget and levy.
What time, Lee?
6 PM.
I'll make a motion to approve the special board meeting for the 2021 budget and levy for December 1st, 2020 at 6 PM with an alternate date in case it snows.
Case of pandemic.
All right.
Second that.
Motion made by Commissioner Delight, seconded by Commissioner Potter to set the special board meeting for the budget and levy, 6 PM on December 1st. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, opposed? Motion passes. All right. Whenever you're ready, Ryan, just let us know, otherwise we'll, oh, okay, there we go.
Can you make it a wee bit bigger?
A wee bit?
A wee bit, just a wee bit.
I need more than a wee.
Well, it
So-
was for the building, the rent.
Sure.
Commissioner Burrell is wondering about the rent that the sheriff's,
Not the jail, but the sheriff's building.
201.
201.
Yep.
For 201 year. I think your budget book did have, rent. The sheriff's office, what we did then was wrote out the budget and then
Okay.
didn't charge the rent. So basically that was,
Right, and then what does the percentage come out now? Because it was almost a wash originally. And it probably would be about a 10% increase now.
so it's
6.65, yeah. Okay, so, all right, sounds good. I just wanted the, you know, the all be the same, so.
yep,
basically then, because we took it out of the sheriff's budget and we lowered the building maintenance rent.
Okay, sounds good, thank you.
Ryan promises us that this will be a lot cleaner and nicer next year when the ERP is all set up and done.
He's also running for Congress.
And he says if it isn't, we can blame somebody. He just didn't say who yet.
all right, well, thank you for looking that up for us, Ryan. All right. So moving on to advisory committee, advisory board updates. Like to start, Commissioner Burrell?
Well, not thinking here. We had community action, I don't think there was anything that stood out in,
No, just that the numbers are up for food deliveries for seniors.
yeah. So that was about it, Madam Chair.
All right, my turn up? Are you
Yes.
doing, all right. So, a couple weeks back here on the 3rd, we had the Emergency Management Public Health Advisory Group get together. We had some discussions around vaccinations and where things are at with that and where the funding is coming from and what is potentially going to be funded by the feds. When don't want to say the word if, when that day comes, as it seems to be a little bit more imminent. So a lot of discussions at that and what it could potentially look like. The following week, on the Thursday, the 9th it was, we had the CMRP group meet on the 10th. So Central Mississippi Regional Planning Partnership. We were getting ready for a next month, which we'll have kind of a more robust discussion about a river crossing in our October meeting. But the meeting in the September mostly surrounded around our second round of engagements, which will be the first round that we will have in-person engagements. We were going to have in-person engagements on the first round. but due to the COVID, that was foregoed. So we are looking at having about 6 to 7 engagements at the variety of townships in county locations and city locations. More dates to come on that as it gets solidified here in the next week or two. Those all should be taking place between the very last week in September and the first week in November is the goal to get all those engagements completed.
Oh, wow.
So, trying to get a good response. Like we had about over 7,000 response in the first round, so we're hoping to get even more robust in the second round as we really get some good information going forward. Madam Chair, and I guess there's also some good things out there that, there's some entities out there kind of kicking tires on possible some fiber installations out there, so maybe more to come with that here in the weeks to come, at least in the northern part of the county. So as that information gets more solidified and hopefully we can make it happen, I'll be bringing that forward.
All
And
right.
that's all I got.
All right, well, Commissioner Potter and I attended 2 township meetings had public hearing for jurisdictional change from Bradshaw and Braddock, and so they went well. Rockford didn't really have.
No rocks or sticks were
No.
used.
Yep, so that went well, and I've had a number of meetings. My Safe Communities of Wright County, we're going to be doing a second round of interviews this afternoon for our executive director, and so we should have someone chosen hopefully by the end of the week. And just kind of some safety facts. The 100 most traveled days in the state of Minnesota are Memorial Weekend through Labor Day, and it's known as the 100 most traveled days, and unfortunately they've had a lot of fatalities during that time. You can't see because my glasses are fogging up with my I can't read. So also a lot of DWIs, but excuse me, in 2019 there was 136 deaths, and in 2020 152. So it unfortunately did increase anyway. And we're also doing the Toward Zero Death grant resolution, which we've been getting every year to help with our safety efforts in that. And looking forward to getting our executive director on board. The Public Works Safety Management had a number of updates about the excuse me, the 5-year plan for the coming up road projects, and they're busy with flats with the surveyor's office for development, placing monuments. There's been a lot of sign replacements, a lot of vandalism to signs, unfortunately, so that requires, getting more out, and doing soil corrections so they can get ready for next year's projects and culvert work and that kind of thing. And also their training has been a little more challenging with these times, but they have had their busiest season. I guess we've noted that before in construction this year. And we had the Central Minnesota Jobs and Training meeting also, and they had a really nice tribute because it was on September 11th. So they did it was, I don't know how many minutes, but it was a very well done tribute to all the lives that were lost that day. And just a couple of things to note, I guess, that they have not had as many dislocated workers requesting assistance at this time because a lot of them actually have been getting unemployment. So they're expecting those numbers to go up, by Christmas or whatever. But just doing the best work they can. We reviewed the revenue projection, the grants, that kind of thing, they're all tied. They're all tied to certain particular projects, and so they've been busy in a different way so far this year, but, and I think that's about it. Mr. Potter?
Thank you, Madam Chair. A couple items here. This Thursday, we have the groundbreaking for the new Trailblazer building. And another note with Trailblazer, we are invited through MnDOT to help with Heartland Express. That's Isanti and Chisago. And went through the whole litany, Gary Ludwig and Bill Pinsky and the bunch, went through the whole litany of getting a special meeting set up, only to have it canceled by Isanti and Chisago's administrators for some reason, I'm not sure. Probably I look at it as a blessing in disguise because it looked like it was gonna be an absolute mess to try to figure that out in a short window of time that MnDOT wanted this fixed. I know it was gonna give Sibley and McLeod a little bit of heartburn. It gave Gary a lot of heartburn because of the man hours that was required to get this done in a very short window. I wish them luck. I was just trying to get Commissioner Morris to understand that, you know, before you dive into something, maybe you should tell MnDOT you need time to digest, ingest, and figure out what's going on here, because if you get shoved into Arrowhead, it might not be what you want, because that's a cap agency, a little different animal, and I think they're just getting pushed around a little bit. It's another one with MnDOT with the transit department. I think they're looking for answers to questions that they don't even know what the questions are, but they're looking for answers for something. It's kind of sad that spent the time and effort to get to that point, only just have it all canceled, and after everybody went through the pain to set up a special meeting because they couldn't wait till the 17th because that was too late, and it was just, but it probably just for the better. Another thing is the Charlotte Martha Sewer Subordinate District that we were supposed to have a hearing on this summer because of COVID that got shoved to the side. We are still looking to set up a time in October to get that done because we need to put that on the tax rolls if they're not going to pay up. The other thing is the Transportation Alliance, and I thank Charlie and Mark because I couldn't make that meeting yesterday because I'd be here because we'd have a quorum. But it wasn't a huge thing, but one of the things that came in is the gas tax collection federally. There was a chart came out in for March when they first put the COVID-19 restrictions on. The big dip came in April, and it slowly climbed out, and once you got to August, September here, the numbers are right back up to where we were before COVID-19, the quarantine and everything happened. The numbers are right back there. Like we saw earlier with the local option sales tax, we didn't see a dip in that like we anticipated. Because we were thinking that was going to be a huge, but it didn't happen because people were doing home improvement projects, other things. They were still spending money, just other things they were spending money on.
That's good to hear.
So that's a good thing there. And then on 24th, we do our virtual fly-in for Transportation Alliance. We got a few of the national freight and highway speakers coming up here. So hopefully it'll be something I personally like to see them in person.
Yeah,
Versus
we all
being
would.
on virtual because, you know, you can read body language a little
Yeah,
bit and you
well.
can kind of elaborate on something. When you're on Zoom, it's kind of tough.
Meetings are not the same.
They're not the same. Well, I just don't feel they're as productive. But we'll just see how that goes. And that's all I have, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Delyden?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple of real quick things here. That's what we all say, right? When so on for a while. Again, I apologize for not making it to our HHS meeting yesterday, but I thought it was important to be part of the AMC HHS policy.
How it goes.
Two of the things that they really stressed to us, and there was a lot of different things, but anyway, the Blue Ribbon Committee met, which was 2 county commissioners. One of them was a former legislator down by the Rochester area. And then there was a number of other people that met with HHS, and it was trying to, well, they were mandated to come up with a number of ways to streamline, reduce HHS's budget or how to improve cost effectiveness. And they came up with 25 menu items because, well, COVID hit there and they weren't able to finish it. And the other thing was, now, you might find this hard to believe, but HHS was not interested in any transformation to improve business aspects of it. And, you know, we can go back to their wonderful software system that doesn't work very well. So one of the things they said that was really critical to us, and it made no difference whether it was for HHS, for transportation, for whatever is important to our county, is that we express that to our legislators and local senators. So, which kind of brought up another point about making sure that we do try and set something up. End of December, first part of January, when do they go into session?
January this next year,
Yeah.
for budget.
Usually about the third week,
Earlier this year, so.
Yeah.
about the third week in January.
Oh, so pretty early then. So we might try and set something up in December then.
We could.
To come up with, and again, I like to keep it to 3, 4 critical things to this county.
Well, and I think it was nice the way we did with the round table last time. and
It really went well. I mean, I thought that we had some very valid items
Yeah.
of concern, and they were well-received, and
Yeah,
Actually,
but I'm not so
try to
sure
do
what
something
got
about it.
accomplished, but.
Well,
Well, they tried.
We were on a good track
bonding
for
year
some of that
Right.
stuff until COVID hit.
So
right,
anyway, yeah, you're right about that.
It's a bonding year versus a budget year, they're different, it'll be a
Yeah.
different scenario this year.
But again, they expressed how important it is for us to really hit our legislators because they're all in different committees and they have a tendency to focus on what's important to them. And we need to let them know what's important to us. And then the Parks Committee met last night. I got a chance to view, tour the new part of the Collinwood Park campground out there, which has full hookups. Turned out really, really nice. And we are going to be going to some new facility reservation software because the existing one was purchased by another company. And they're going to kill the one that we've been using. And if we went with the new companies, it's going to increase our budget by another $35,000 a year, which we ain't going to do. And this new one is going to be really nice because right now when you go to reserve a camp spot, say for 4 days, and if one of those days is already taken and filled up, then it will say unavailable. The new software is going to come up with a 2-week window showing you available dates.
Oh,
okay.
nice.
And one of the other things that they're thinking is that you'll be able to choose 3 parks or choose the campgrounds. And it'll look at all the different campgrounds for those dates.
Oh, yeah, that was,
Get better
We're hoping
utilization.
that's an addition part of it, but they claim that this software is going to be a lot nicer to work with over our old one, a lot more user-friendly, and it'll also be able to be utilized on the phone, which the current one is incapable of doing. And then one other quick thing. We decided, and you guys can overrule us if you want, but we decided not to have any seasonals at Bertram next year. You know, we have 6 at Schroeder and 8 at Collinwood. And the decision was made to start reducing the ones at those locations also, because the campgrounds are so busy, we don't really need to have the seasonals anymore. And we also found out that of the seasonals, there are only 2 that are from Wright County.
you mean two,
2 seasonal.
Two
Residents.
seasonal people, the rest of them are from different counties. So we also changed that, so now those seasonal people are gonna have to pay more if they're gonna stick around. So, that's it.
And Madam Chair,
yes,
thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Glenn, I think it's for sure that first year of Bertram, it's good not to have the seasonal to see how it shakes out. And then then you can modify it for season 2022 after that.
That's what we
Yeah,
decided. We
that
just-
makes sense.
Just because we don't know, we don't want to cause any issues, especially with, hopefully some tournaments, once COVID's all solved and whatever the heck.
Maybe
it's gonna
November
be.
3rd?
Whatever. That, we don't want to cause any issues, for the use of the sports facilities out there too. And we may end up, if it's anything like our current campgrounds, when it goes to open March 1st or whenever it is, yeah, they'll all be filled up.
Well, and I don't think that park isn't gonna be a conducive park for seasonal camping anyways. It just, the way it's laid out with the sports fields there, and then just the way the park is with a more of a natural setting for the I guess, passive use to the park. It's not like a Schroeder Park where people summer there, I just don't see it.
Yeah, but because we're always short so much at Schroeder, because it's a very heavily used park, we decided to start, through attrition, start cutting back. If somebody no longer decides to do their contract for the following year, or they die, or something to that effect, then that one's gonna go away for a while. We're gonna see how it goes. Sorry.
Thank you. Administrator Kelly.
All right, as you know, last week, the applications for the business grants and nonprofit grants, the Wright County Economic Development Partnership, went live as of the 9th. As of the 10th, they already had 21 applications for businesses and 3 nonprofits that they reviewed, so you'll see some of those coming forward, help get the word out. The application period concludes on October 8th. Those that are interested can go to wrightpartnership.org.
Yeah, 21 businesses and 3 nonprofits?
Correct, and that's, again, on the 10th, they opened the first batch, so that gives you a one-day snapshot at this point, so I'll look for some
I got a
updated.
postcard from them.
Yep, they did a mailing out, I know I received one as well, and we've tried to push that through the county's website as well and get the word out, so. It seems to be very well received at this point, so more to come on that. And our CARES committee is meeting every Wednesday to review what's been submitted thus far, so we've gotten out to a number of the schools already. There's a few that have submitted that we're asking for a little more documentation on, so getting that paid out thus far. So a lot going on with CARES. Commissioner Potter mentioned Trailblazer. They're groundbreaking again, is 11 on the 17th here. Gary would really like you to attend if possible. Wants to get a photo that day, so if you're available. I've talked him into providing refreshments, so if that helps sweeten the deal, literally.
It's Thursday.
Yep, Thursday the 17th at 11.
Thursday.
And that'll be out at site, of course, so those are the main things I wanted to hit for today, so. Any other?
All right.
Is there anything else that needs to come before the board? Hearing none, we're adjourned at 10:08. Thanks, everybody.